You know that feeling when you're in a group of people and everyone simultaneously pulls out their phone? There's a collective silence, a synchronized bowing of heads to the glowing screens, and you're the only one left looking at the actual room. It's not that you're a Luddite or that you're above it all. It's a specific, hollow kind of loneliness. You're standing in the same space, breathing the same air, but you're living in a completely different reality. To them, you've become a ghost, a person who doesn't exist because you don't have a curated gallery of your best moments to prove it. But here's the thing nobody admits about people who don't use social media. It's rarely about digital detox or productivity. For many, it's a desperate act of self-preservation. You realize that every time you posted, you were losing a piece of your real self to satisfy a digital audience that doesn't actually care about. You got tired of the performance. Tired of the phantom vibration in your pocket? Tired of feeling like your life only counts if a stranger likes it? By opting out, you didn't just leave an app. You performed a quiet, radical surgery on your own ego. But that surgery left a scar, a sense of isolation so deep that sometimes you wonder if you've accidentally deleted your connection to humanity itself. There is a specific kind of internal quiet that people without social media possess, but it isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it feels like a void. While the rest of the world is addicted to the micro hits of dopamine from a red notification bubble, your brain has been forced to recalibrate to a much slower, much heavier frequency. You are the only one left who still feels the full weight of a Sunday afternoon with nothing to do. You don't have an infinite scroll to numb the boredom, so you have to sit with it. You have to look at the walls. You have to listen to your own thoughts. And that is why most people can't do what you do. It's not that they love Instagram, it's that they are terrified of what they'll hear if they turn the noise off. But for you, this silence has become a double-edged sword. You've gained your focus back, but you've lost the social shorthand. You're the person who doesn't know the joke everyone is laughing at. You're the one who finds out a friend got married 3 months after the wedding. You are physically present, but socially you are vibrating on a frequency that no one else is tuned into. You've traded the shallow warmth of likes for a deep, freezing clarity. You see the world exactly as it is, without the filters. And sometimes, that makes you want to scream at everyone else to wake up, even though you know they can't hear you through the glass. There is a quiet, dangerous kind of arrogance that develops when you stop using social media. You don't want to admit it, but you feel it every time you walk into a coffee shop or sit at a dinner table where everyone else is hunched over a glowing rectangle. You look at them and you don't see connection. You see a room full of people who are physically present but mentally miles away, chasing ghosts. You start to feel like an observer in a world of sleepwalkers. In the psychology of social isolation, this is called the outsider's superiority. It's a defense mechanism, because being the only one not in on the joke hurts. Your brain flips the script. Instead of feeling left out, you start feeling awake while everyone else is plugged in. But this clarity comes with a violent kind of frustration. You see the subtle tilt of a head for a selfie, the fake laugh for a video, the way a beautiful moment is instantly killed the second someone decides to share it. You see the strings on the puppets. And the more you see it, the harder it becomes to relate to the people you love. You're not just missing the memes, you're losing the ability to respect the performance. You've traded your digital shackles for a front row seat to the collapse of human attention, and sometimes you'd give anything to just be able to look at a phone and feel nothing again. There is a social death that happens when you stop posting, and it's much quieter than you expected. In the digital age, your persona, that curated, filtered version of you, is what people actually interact with. It's the version that reminds them you exist. When you kill that persona, you discover a brutal truth. Out of sight isn't just out of mind, it's out of reality. People don't call to ask how you are because you weren't there in their feed to trigger the thought. You've chosen to have only one version of yourself, the real, but the real you is heavy. The real you requires a phone call, a physical meeting, an actual conversation. And most people, exhausted by their own digital lives, simply don't have the energy for heavy. By deleting your profile, you've unintentionally made yourself inconvenient to love. You've traded the easy, shallow warmth of 1,000 likes for the cold, hard realization of how few people will actually go out of their way to find you in the real world. You are standing in the middle of a crowded room, but because you aren't broadcasting your location, you've become invisible. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, that freedom feels a lot like being forgotten. There is a psychological phenomenon that happens when you stop using social media, and it's called the information exile. Most people don't realize that their brain has outsourced its memory and its interests to the algorithm. They don't have to decide what's important. The feed decides for them. But when you opt out, that external engine stops. Suddenly, you are responsible for your own own curiosity. In the beginning, this feels like freedom, but soon, a strange anxiety sets in. You realize you are no longer fluent in the cultural language of the moment. You miss the memes that explain the world's tragedies through humor. You miss the shared outrage that makes people feel like they belong to something bigger. You are standing in a room where everyone is speaking a dialect you used to know, but now you've lost the accent. This exile isn't just about missing news, it's about the death of ambient belonging, that background noise of knowing what everyone else is thinking. Without it, you are forced to build your own world from scratch. You have to find your own books, your own music, your own reasons to care. It's a massive cognitive load that most people's nervous systems simply aren't trained for anymore. You've traded the easy comfort of the crowd for the exhausting labor of being an individual. And some days, the weight of having to invent your own life every single morning feels heavier than any digital addiction ever did. There is a biological reason why you had to leave, and it's because you have what psychologists call a thin-skinned nervous system. Most people use social media as a digital filter, a way to process the world in bite-sized, buffered pieces. But for you, the noise was too loud. Every tragedy, every brag, every screaming headline didn't just pass through your feed, it landed on your chest. You didn't have the emotional callus that others have developed to survive the infinite scroll. When you opted out, you essentially stripped away a layer of artificial skin. Now when you walk through the world, you feel everything at 100% volume. You notice the tension in a stranger's shoulders. You feel the heavy, oppressive silence in a crowded elevator where everyone is staring at their palms. You are raw in a world that is increasingly synthetic. It's exhausting. Without the digital distraction to numb you, you're forced to process reality in real time with no pause button and no mute. This is why you sometimes feel like you're vibrating on a different frequency than the rest of humanity. You aren't sensitive. You're just one of the few people left who is actually physically present for the pain and beauty of being alive. And that is a heavy price to pay for your sanity. When you stop looking at the world through a 6-inch screen, you start to see things that other people have forgotten how to notice. Psychologists call this high-definition presence, but for you, it feels like a curse. You're at a concert, and instead of the music, you see a sea of glowing rectangles, thousands of people filming a moment they aren't actually living. You're at a restaurant, and you see a couple sitting in total silence, both scrolling, until the food arrives, and then, for 30 seconds, they perform happiness for a photo, only to sink back into the gray digital glow the moment the camera is off. You see the performative nature of modern life. You see the strings, and it's lonely. It's lonely to be the only one who remembers what it's like to just be somewhere without needing to prove it to a cloud server. You've become a witness to a world that is slowly disappearing. You're holding on to the last shreds of raw, unedited human experience while everyone else is busy digitizing their souls. You have the clarity of an outsider, but it comes with the realization that you're speaking a dead language. You're a traveler from a different era, watching a society forget how to look each other in the eye. So, what is the final truth about the people who don't use social media? You aren't a hero, and you aren't a saint. You are just someone who refused to let their soul be sliced into 15-second clips. But here is the part that hurts. The world didn't stop because you left. The noise got louder, the screens got brighter, and the people you love stayed behind in the digital glow. By opting out, you've preserved something rare, a raw, unedited version of a human life. You still know what it feels like to wait without a distraction. You still know how to look at a sunset without thinking about how it would look as a background for a quote. You have saved your internal kingdom, but the price of that kingdom is a permanent, quiet exile. You are the last person at the party who has realized the music stopped playing hours ago, but everyone else is still dancing because their headphones are still on. You are safe, yes. You are sane, yes. But you are also profoundly, uniquely alone. And maybe that's the real test of the modern age. Can you handle the weight of being a person when there is no one there to like it? Because in the end, a life that isn't shared might feel invisible. But as the old saying goes, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody posts it to their story, it still fell. It was still real. And that is more than most people can say about themselves.